One night, one house, and 41 minutes of darkness that nobody, not the police, not the FBI, not the investigators who have spent years on this case, has been able to fully explain. Nancy Guthrie, an ordinary woman living an ordinary life. But her daughter? She was anything but ordinary. She was one of the most recognized faces in American television. And maybe that fame, that spotlight, that success was the very thing that made her mother a target. What you are about to hear is not fiction. It is not a screenplay. Every clue, every detail, every unanswered question, it is all real. And the most terrifying part? We are still waiting for the full truth. So stay with me, because once you hear everything, you will not be able to stop thinking about it. The first hour. The red flags. When law enforcement arrived at Nancy Guthrie's home, Sheriff Nanos took one look at the scene and felt something was deeply, fundamentally wrong. Not just wrong, criminal. So much so that within 1 hour of arriving, he had already called in the homicide squad. Let that sink in. You do not call homicide detectives to a kidnapping scene. Homicide is for murder. The moment Sheriff Nanos made that call, he was telling his team, someone died here, and someone is working very hard to make sure we think otherwise. The first red flag was small, easy to miss if you weren't looking carefully. Nancy's heart medication, sitting right there on the kitchen counter. Open, untouched, within easy reach. Now think about this from a logical standpoint. If your goal is to abduct someone and keep them alive, keep them as leverage, as a bargaining chip, would you leave behind their heart medicine? The medication that keeps them breathing? That keeps their heart beating? Of course not. You take it with you. You need them alive. Those pills being left behind told investigators one devastating truth. Whoever took Nancy had no intention of keeping her alive. Leaving that medication wasn't careless. It was a death sentence. The second red flag was impossible to ignore. A ransom demand arrived in Bitcoin, sent directly to TMZ. Not to the family, not to law enforcement, to a celebrity gossip and entertainment media outlet. If someone genuinely wants a ransom paid, they contact the family. They give instructions, on a deadline, a drop point. They don't go to TMZ. Sending that demand to the media had absolutely nothing to do with collecting money. Its only purpose was to generate headlines, create panic, and redirect everyone's attention. This was theater, a performance designed to look like a kidnapping while something else entirely was being covered up. The digital ghost bilddiaform. The forensic evidence now. We arrive at the detail that forms the very spine of this entire investigation. 1:47 a.m. The security cameras go dark. 2:28 a.m. Nancy's pacemaker records a flat line. 41 minutes. That is the gap. 41 minutes of complete, total silence between the cameras going offline and Nancy's heart stopping. What happened in those 41 minutes? What was done? What was said? What was staged? If this had been a random intruder, someone who broke in, panicked, and things spiraled out of control, they would have run the moment things went wrong. Fight or flight. They would have been gone in minutes. But whoever was in that house stayed for 41 minutes. They were not panicking. They were working. Whether that work was cleaning up evidence, staging the scene to look a certain way, or leaving behind a calculated message, we do not yet know. But it was deliberate. Here is the detail that separates this from any ordinary break-in. The cameras were not all disabled at once. They were taken down one by one, in sequence, methodically. Each camera individually targeted and shut down. This requires knowledge. This requires preparation. You have to know where the router is. You have to know where each hub is located. You have to understand how the entire security system is wired together. An outsider cannot walk into an unfamiliar house and do this. This was someone who knew the layout, someone who had either been inside before or had spent considerable time studying it from the outside. And that brings us to the footage from January 11th, recovered from security archives dating back a full month before the incident. Someone was already there, already watching, already memorizing the patterns, the routines, the blind spots. This was not impulsive. This was not opportunistic. This was a month-long hunting operation. The Savannah factor. The real target now. We need to talk about the name that sits at the absolute center of this case. Savannah Guthrie, NBC anchor, the co-host of the Today Show. One of the most familiar faces in American morning television, watched by millions of households every single day. The evidence does not point to Nancy as the intended victim. Nancy was the instrument. She was used as bait, as a tool to force Savannah's attention, to pull her into a situation where she would be emotionally compromised, publicly visible, and desperately vulnerable. Investigators and behavioral analysts have pointed to a psychological condition known as erotomania, a delusional disorder in which a person becomes convinced with absolute certainty that a celebrity or public figure has romantic feelings for them. The obsession is total. The delusion is unshakable. In the mind of someone suffering from this condition, the connection feels completely real. And when that obsession turns dangerous, the people physically closest to the celebrity become the easiest targets. Nancy was accessible. Nancy was reachable. And Nancy was Savannah's mother. When Savannah appeared on television to address the situation, speaking softly, slowly, choosing every word with extreme caution, many viewers were confused. Some were even critical. Why wasn't she more emotional? Why wasn't she demanding answers? Why did she seem so controlled? Because that control wasn't her idea alone. That was the FBI's strategy. When you are dealing with someone in a delusional, obsessive state, any show of aggression, any challenge to their worldview, any emotional confrontation can trigger an immediate and violent reaction. Savannah was told, "Stay calm. Keep your voice steady. Do not provoke." She swallowed her fear and her grief and appeared on national television with a composed face, because doing anything else could have cost her mother her life. That was Na's weakness. That was one of the bravest things I have ever seen a person do. The familiar stranger, the suspect, pool. So who was capable of all this? Who had the knowledge, the access, and the motive? Start with the physical evidence. The roof of the property showed no signs of disturbance. No scuff marks, no broken tiles, no evidence of forced entry from above. Investigators noted this as significant, especially given that construction work had recently been completed on the home. Those contractors had spent days on that rooftop. They had a complete, unobstructed view of the entire property. They could see where every camera was mounted. They could see the entry points, the blind spots, the security infrastructure. They had time and proximity to study everything without raising a single alarm. Then there is the timing. Savannah had flown to London to cover the Olympics. The attack happened while she was thousands of miles away. Now ask yourself, who knew that schedule? And Savannah's travel plans are not published anywhere. That information does not appear in any press release or public calendar. It lives only in private communications, within a small, trusted circle of people close to her. Whoever planned this knew when Savannah would be gone. And that means whoever planned this was not a stranger. On day 25 of the active investigation, FBI surveillance footage captured something extraordinary. A dark SUV, moving carefully, entering the garage of a connected property. Concealed, deliberate, the kind of movement that suggests awareness of being watched. Is there a secret witness? Someone the FBI has been working with quietly? Someone who has knowledge of the inside operation? The investigation has not confirmed it, but the evidence strongly suggests the Bureau knows more than they have publicly revealed. The final question. Let us bring it all together one final time. On heart medication left on the counter, not forgetfulness, a death sentence, ransom sent to TMZ, not the family, not a negotiation, a distraction. 41 minutes unaccounted for, not a gap. The crime itself. Cameras disabled one by one, not random destruction. Expert, insider knowledge. A full month of prior surveillance, not spontaneous. Coldly calculated. Awareness of Savannah's travel schedule, not a coincidence. Someone on the inside. But every single piece of this evidence points to the same conclusion. This was not a kidnapping. This was never a kidnapping. This was a staged event. A scene constructed from the ground up to conceal what actually happened to Nancy Guthrie. The medications, the camera sequence, the ransom note sent to the wrong people. None of it was accidental. Every detail was placed with purpose by someone who understood exactly how an investigation works and exactly how to slow it down. The 41-minute gap is the black hole of this case. Everything that matters happened in those 41 minutes. The truth is in there, buried in that silence between 1:47 and 2:28. And until someone can account for every single second of that window, this case will remain open. The questions will remain unanswered, and Nancy Guthrie will not have justice. So I need to hear from you. What does your gut tell you? Was this the work of a delusional stalker who fixated on Savannah and saw Nancy as a way to reach her? Was it someone from the construction crew who spent weeks mapping every corner of that property? Or is the truth even closer? Someone trusted? Someone familiar? Someone who sat at that family's table? Leave your theory in the comments below. Contractor, stalker, or insider. If this video made you stop and think, hit like, share it, and subscribe. Because Nancy deserves answers. And so do we.